Hello and welcome again to another episode of the Cliff Notes podcast, where we ask a leader and find a way. A group of ladies who were off to Malawi on a women's expedition to help build a new classroom at the classroom block at Rainbow Hope School in Malawi, and help bring some sort of STEM learning opportunities. And now they've returned. Katy Toms has been good enough to come back and tell us about it. Well, hey there, and thanks for joining us again. After we had a couple of your colleagues, Gemma and Jess, on before the STEM trip out to Malawi. How are you feeling to be back?
A little bit lonely. Obviously it's really great to catch up with you again. But yeah, as I said, a little bit lonely. I think we had a really great team. We bonded amazingly. So now that the project big success, we've got back. We've seen the students already starting to use the building, which is just absolutely incredible. But you sort of lose that team bonding that we had. It's just not quite the same anymore. So I'm really feeling a little bit empty. Looking forward to my next project.
So you developed a good family over the trip and the months leading up.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you consider it was this time last year, so it's almost 12 months in the making. In our first relationships in sorting out our leadership team, and then getting the team involved and getting to know them, and we've got a WhatsApp group, chatting to everyone almost daily, and almost sometimes on hours on end, and that sort of momentum built and built and built, and really started to get to know each other before we went. Then these sort of the 2 weeks we were away all together sort of cemented those relationships, and then you come back and it's it's amazing to have all these connections now from the women all over the world. And really that was one of the purposes of the expedition, was to bring these really amazing women all together and build those international connections as well, and about how the team could learn from each other and also grow professionally too. So that was a really amazing outcome, really, and I'm so pleased it was so successful in that respect too.
And just to go over again, what was the main aim of the trip?
So the main aim of the expedition was the outcome was to build a sustainable, eco-friendly building for the Rainbow Hope Secondary School in Mangochi. One of our classrooms is to encourage science, and the other one is for IT. But that was a physical outcome. The sort of more not as tangible outcomes were to promote women in engineering, to put forward these visible role models to the industry, but also obviously to the students that we were working with, to inspire them into subjects that they may not feel were suited to them. So showing women can do all these really cool things. And then, as I mentioned, the sort of the network that we have built together as a team, which has been that all three big success in my opinion.
Sponsorship of this podcast has been brought to you by Holding Bay, the digital web agency. Holding Bay specialises in working with B2B companies, like manufacturers, to build better solutions and drive better sales funnels. So if you would like to build a web application or improve your branding and sales funnel, get in contact today. holdingbay.co.uk or call us on 01273 044 019. So you're all out there with your safety gear on and getting your hands dirty, not on the computers and with a clipboard and sending everyone else out.
Oh, absolutely. I think my role sort of as one of the team leads was to really coordinate everyone's sort of activities, make sure everyone was busy. And a lot of my time I was sort of running around like a headless chicken. And my big regret really is I didn't get as involved in the construction as I wanted to, but I just didn't have time. But I still learned how to lay bricks. I still did some plastering and painting, and we also put all of the desks for the students to use together, so I got involved with that as well. So everyone really mucked in, even if it was just lugging bricks around the site to get them closer to the classroom and things like that. I was so impressed with how everyone just really embraced every role, which was great. And part of our trip too, we did STEM activities with each class. So I think we did about 10 STEM activities. We also had two NHS nurses come with us on the trip, and their skills were invaluable for one, helping to look after the team, but they also ran first aid courses with every single class and the teachers as well, which is, in a society where they don't have that medical assistance ready like we do in the UK, that first aid training is really valuable. So everyone brought this amazing skill set, and it seemed to come together really well.
What did you get into then in the classes? Were you sort of laying out some sort of introductions to different types of engineering and your own backgrounds, or did you put together some modules?
Yeah, so we challenged the team to come up with their own STEM activity that they wanted to run. So they really took ownership over that session. It's similar to the sessions we would run in the UK as well, so trying to get very hands-on. So I know they would give a bit of an introduction about who they were, what their jobs were, and then sort of almost just launch into this really hands-on activity. So they range between electrical engineering activities to planning and communication activities. We did the standard, the bridge building. We did cleaning water, floating boats, and there's massive variety in the sessions that the team brought together, which was brilliant for the students because normally their sort of style of learning is very much you learn off the board and it's not very practical or hands-on. So really that type of activity, it's not only just fun, it breaks up their learning and they get to learn about engineering in a different way rather than their sort of more traditional way too.
Mm-hmm. So that different teaching style, did you get some good feedback with the kids enjoying getting hands on?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, sort of the original expedition that I went on, having that positive feedback about the STEM activity that we did was part of the inspiration for this trip. So again, yeah, we did get lots of really positive feedback, and you could just see it in their faces when they were doing the activities, especially the ones that had that really competitive edge. They just you can just tell they were really enjoying it, and that makes it so worthwhile too.
You have any other stories? I see that people were getting into a bit of dancing and a bit of storytelling and stuff after the work was done. Did they teach you some things too?
Oh, do you know what? Some of our best memories are where we were just interacting with the students, and we did like we tried to sort of break up the day with doing activities off site as well, so our local contractor could just crack on with parts of the works that we couldn't really help a lot with. So we spent time with the students as much as possible. They actually won an award for a play that they had put on. They did it for us when we were at the school. And we were blown away. It was absolutely incredible. And then we had a bit of a party afterwards. So they taught us some dancing as well, which is really, really, it was just fun. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those really light-hearted activities that was just really great. They also spent a couple of hours one morning just sort of talking to us about their experiences growing up, their backgrounds, so the different tribes and that they come from the area, just all going to the same school, and their more specific local customs and rituals and that kind of thing. And that's something that I missed last time, and this trip, just to learn about all of that, was absolutely fascinating. So they taught us about good culture practices and bad culture practices and what they're trying to do in their own lives to sort of combat that and make a change for the future. They really took sort of ownership on making a difference, which was for the age that they were at, it's really incredible. We also spent an afternoon with a group of women that's called the No Sex for Fish group. And that was fascinating to see how women in the community have really taken, a stand on taking control of their own finances and coming up with their own sort of banking system, and really sort of become a bit more independent. That was fascinating to spend time with them. It's so inspiring. And obviously then by doing things like that, they're teaching their own children that there is a different way, and they're just making such a massive difference in the communities. We also went to the Open Arms Orphanage, which is just down the road from the school, and learned more about what they're doing in that orphanage, and how sort of they look after the children. And then at a certain age, they do get sent back to their own communities, so they still, grow up around family and learn about their culture and their traditions and that kind of stuff too. And adding all these different aspects to the trip, I think, really gave it, it was so much more than just a building. We obviously set out to do our own version of teaching and that kind of thing, but really we just were like a sponge, absorbs the local culture, and learnt so much from them as well. I wouldn't be the only one on the team to say that sort of your perspective massively changes on returning.
That sounds really rewarding.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were definitely sort of welcomed into the community, and you shared back the other way too. Do you feel that it did end up being a good partnership with the local school and local environment, just so that it's not that you've turned up, built this school and gone away again, and it's just going to sort of sit on the side, or they don't necessarily have the teachers who are used to using the sort of facilities that you provided. Do
Yeah.
you feel like it's connected there as well?
Yeah, I definitely do think that. I know it sort of some of what you've just mentioned were concerns some of the team have had, some of our sponsors have had, and things like that. But we really made sure that we worked with the school and the NGO and our operator Orbis Expeditions, to make sure that we had these proper, really good partnerships and connections, and we were all working to the same page. So it wasn't we were just turning up, doing something, and leaving again. It was a need that the school really wanted with the classrooms that we were providing. We also raised money for equipment to furnish them too. The deputy head teacher she has a science degree, so she was very passionate to really start pushing science as a subject more so in the school, and now she has equipment to really teach the students practically. So she's sort of taken advice from her, and we've still got connections, and we've still got that relationship with the school. So we're getting sent photos even today of the students working on the computers that are now in the IT classroom, which it just sort of makes your heart swell really to see that it's being used straight away, which is incredible. I was lucky enough as well to meet with the PTA when we were over there, and on the last day where we did our opening ceremony, a lot of the local chiefs and community representatives came, and we had a bit of a presentation. All of them were so, I can't think of the right word, but they loved the project, they loved the building. They said it had an incredible feel, and actually they said that from not from now on, but they're absolutely committed to making sure that students attend school and really put education first to take all the benefits from our project, and the rest of the school that can provide. So I feel like all of us were really pulling in the same direction, whether it was, you know, parents, the teachers. Obviously, we got the local workforce involved too. So we employed a number of local Malawians to help us with the construction. So they did a certain amount until we got on site to make sure we completed on time. We made sure we worked with the NGO to ensure that they were being paid fairly, and things like that. We brought out additional kit and things like that to share with them as well. So we really tried to make sure it was about us working together with everyone, rather than us turn up, do something for a couple of weeks and then leave, and it just sort of stop at that point. So I think it was a success in that aspect as well.
I think from the experience and piece, it definitely sounds a success. But how do you rate it as a? What's the marker to say that it was a success to look back at? Is it the sort of thing that you have to look back in a couple of years, or is it something that you could already say how you rate something as sort of as big as this. I mean, it's not just sort of one or two of you going to visit and experience something. You've built something. You've left something behind that's gone
Yeah.
into the community. So, I mean, how do you rate how successful it's been? Or
Absolutely. I mean, and I think there's a few different ways to sort of rate it in success. When you look at the whole expedition, what we were trying to do, but if you just look at it as the building itself and as a construction project, I think it was big success in the fact that we managed to use really sustainable materials, that we worked within a budget that was fundraised by the whole team, so really put the commitment in for that, as well as private donors, which were very generous. But the impact on the students, I think, would probably be something that we would really see coming through in a few years' time. That building will hopefully be there for a long time, and it has the potential to influence and inspire thousands of children that go to that school. So I mean, I actually had one student, she's in Form 4, which is the last year. We were chatting and we were talking about the building and the subjects that she could be working on, or the equipment she could be using. She's like, I'm just so sad because I'm never going to get to use it. I would have loved to do that. And because she was leaving in a few weeks from school really after her exams, so the students they were really excited. They couldn't wait to get in there and start learning, using all the equipment and things like that. And I think the outcomes that we will see from the impact of just the building and the equipment is probably more of a long-term goal. Showing positive role models, that's happening now. Having that positive influence when we were there, that's a very short-term goal, which I think we've succeeded in doing as well. So and obviously these personal connections, CPD of our team, uh, that's again a short-term goal that I feel that we've succeeded with too. But with the students, I think, yeah, it will be a long-term thing, and it's going to be. I can't wait to start seeing it happening, and maybe in a few years' time to go back out and see the building again and speak to the students would be my dream. But one I have to wait a little bit longer for.
yeah, it's that sort of thing that maybe that sort of 5, 10, 15 year out, and seeing maybe even the students have been able to then go off into work after their further studies, or have even chosen to do that further studies, as we were saying, but in a previous chat, that some of them don't necessarily choose to go on or haven't got the opportunities, and this may drive some of them, or let them prove enough that it's worth going on into their next education.
Yeah, and I just that would just absolutely probably make my life, to see the students that are doing well. And what what I'm hoping as well with the relationships that we've got now with the NGO and the school is they'll keep us updated from afar.
Mhm.
But to go back over there, and I mean my husband as well, bless him, he's had to put up with me talking about Malawi now for almost 2 years. So I'd love to drag him over at some point and go, this is actually what we did, and see it in the flesh. And maybe, yeah, maybe in the next 5 years it'd be great to go back.
That sounds good. Good goals. Yeah, definite 10x or more benefit from the outcomes we're hoping.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, just to wrap this up then, because it's been great just to hear back and hear that the expedition went well. If other sort of individuals wanted to get together, other groups of people to do other activities, maybe this in this country or abroad, have you got any sort of just general guidance or people it's worth going to talk to understand what it is to take on something like this?
Yep. So obviously, I would be happy to speak to anyone if they're interested. But there are loads of groups that go out and do projects like ours all of the time. What I would say that made ours a little bit more unique was that it wasn't having the backing of a charity. It was or volunteering, and that has its own challenges. But if I could recommend using Orbis Expeditions as a company to facilitate that, if people were interested specifically in Malawi, they're absolutely incredible. They know all of the right people to make sure that your impact isn't just an in and out experience. You actually sort of have that positive impact and really have that social responsibility aspect rather than it just being about aid. So that would be my recommendation. but there are loads of opportunities out there if people are interested. It's very easy to get into, and it's just so rewarding. I mean, we do so much CSR in this company, and in the UK, and that has its place, absolutely. But to do CSR in a third world country or a developing country it massively impacts your life, and it's just so rewarding. And I would recommend it to anyone.
Thanks for that. And so, where's next for you? What's the next horizon?
Oh, I don't know yet. I was planning on having a little bit of a rest, but I've already got a little bit twitchy. I have a new role coming up actually with the Institution of Civil Engineers, so I'll be taking on the chair role for the Southwest, which I'm very excited about. And I've also just taken on a role on our Humanitarian Aid Committee internally at WSP. So that really is a little bit open-ended, and I'm very excited about how I can work with the existing committee to really have a positive impact. So a few little things going on. I don't think I could cope with another big project straight away, but I need to keep busy. So I'm really looking forward to those two roles.
Sounds like you can give yourself a little bit of the summer off, but new intake of students and apprentices in the new year.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, thanks for coming on again and giving us a little summary. And we'll have to keep in touch and catch up in a few years when you've been out on your trip and seen the results.
Absolutely, that would be amazing. It was brilliant, and thank you for chatting with me today. It's been great.
Cool. And I look forward to the documentary too. Is that still sort of imminently?
Yes. Yeah, so we work with the IET, which is the Institution of Engineering Technology, and our documentary should hopefully be released early August is the plan. I'm very excited. I mean, I went on the expedition. I know what happens, but I'm still so excited to watch it.
Watch you back and see what else they caught that you missed because you were so
Well,
busy.
exactly. Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Thanks for coming, and this has been another sort of short roundup version of the Cliff Notes podcast. And by all means, get back in touch with guests, both this one and we've had Gemma and Jess on for their experiences too. And we'll look forward to speaking again soon.